Welcome to Perimenopause. Hell, today we're going to discuss the safety of soy, as in soy isoflavones, which are a very popular supplement for treating hot flashes, night sweats, and all the low estrogen symptoms that bother us. So, is soy a cancer risk? That's one of the first questions that will come up. So, considering that plant estrogens in phytoestrogen supplements are many times weaker than those in HRT, this has always struck me as being a rather strange concern. And basically, we know that HRT is a problem, but HRT is much, much stronger. Now, these concerns have arisen from doctors treating breast cancer patients, and they have said to avoid soy because it's a source of phytoestrogens, and that seems a logical thing. But most doctors do not know if it's dangerous or not, so the advice is given just in case, not because they know it's definitely a risk. They say to avoid it in case it might be. But the studies do not show this. So what we do know is that cases of breast cancer are actually lower in countries where the traditional diet is rich in soy. So this study shows the incidence of breast cancer is lower in Asian populations who consume high dietary concentrations of soy products which have a high isoflavone content. So we're going to look at an article written by a dietitian which reviews studies about soy foods and soy isoflavone supplements. It's an article that dismisses myths and falsehoods that have arisen about soy. And the article basically summarizes much of the studies that I've read. So that's the web link for this article. So, according to Margie McCullough, Strategic Director of Nutritional Epidemiology for the American Cancer Society, epidemiologic studies that followed large populations of healthy women for many years either have shown no association between soy and breast cancer or a protective association from eating soy. So even breast cancer survivors do not need to worry. Three studies looking at women's eating habits and other lifestyle factors after breast cancer found that in the combined total of 9,000 breast cancer survivors studied, eating soy actually lowered the risk of breast cancer recurrence, even in women with estrogen receptor positive tumours, although less so, and regardless of whether they were taking tamoxifen. McCullough offers an explanation why soy's phytoestrogens may not be the powerful cancer causes that they were once thought to be. While isoflavones may act like estrogen, they also have anti-estrogen properties, she explains. That is, they can block the more potent natural estrogens from binding to the estrogen receptor. In addition, they stop the formation of estrogens in fat tissue and stimulate production of a protein that binds estrogen in the blood, making it less able to bind to the receptor. They also have antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties and may work in other ways to reduce cancer growth. There was a presentation that I watched by Dr. William Lee, which was called The Science of How the Body Heals Itself. So this slide here shows the chemical structure of the phytoestrogen soy genistein and the human estrogen. So it shows you they are quite different. So as we've already heard, he says that the plant estrogens block human estrogen receptors like a natural tamoxifen. The JMA study over 5 years on women who ate soy showed a 29% decrease in risk of death and a 32% decrease in risk of cancer returning, according to Dr. William Lee. And he quotes 17 other studies that show a positive association. And this was based around 10 grams of soy protein per day, so it's not a huge amount of soy either. This is the study that he's referring to. It's talking about 5,042 female breast cancer patients, and the conclusion was that among women with breast cancer, soy food consumption was significantly associated with a decreased risk of death and recurrence. So that's good news. The study showed that soy food intake, as measured by either soy protein or soy isoflavone intake, was inversely associated with mortality and recurrence. One of the other soy myths that we hear about is concerns about hypothyroidism. From the article I referred to previously, soy phytoestrogens inhibit thyroid function. Indeed, in the May 2011 issue of Clinical Thyroidology, a randomized double-blind crossover study by Sathya Palan and colleagues found that 6 of 60 women with subclinical hypothyroidism converted to clinical hypothyroidism after 8 weeks of supplementation with soy protein containing 16 milligrams of phytoestrogen per day. But there are holes in that particular study. To mimic a typical Western diet, the study authors also gave women daily soy protein supplements with 2 milligrams of phytoestrogen. The women in this lower dose group showed no change in thyroid function. So if you are hypothyroid, the idea is to keep the dose reasonably low. In his commentary on the published study, Jorge Mestman, MD, reviewed other research in the area and concluded that only very high doses of soy phytoestrogen supplementation may induce clinical hypothyroidism in a minority of patients with subclinical hypothyroidism. So you might want to limit the amount of phytoestrogens if you have a thyroid disorder. So for those individuals already being treated for hypothyroidism, it's important to note that soy consumption decreases absorption of replacement thyroid hormone, so clients should be reminded to take such medications on an empty stomach as directed. So that's the other point, is that you should take it on an empty stomach. Interestingly, in the same study by Sathya Palan, the high-dose soy phytoestrogens significantly reduced insulin resistance, blood pressure, and inflammation markers. So he did find that it did some good things. Also, 6 out of 60 patients is only 10% of the cohort. It's small enough to be coincidental, and 60 patients is anyway a very small study, and it's not what other studies have found. This is a different study by Mark Messina, who's done many studies into soy isoflavones. So you'll see the title of this one: Isoflavone supplements do not affect thyroid function in iodine-replete postmenopausal women. So if you have enough iodine, it won't affect you. He is making the comment that if you don't have enough iodine already, that is when it will affect you. So it said, in total 14 trials, thyroid function was not the primary health outcome in any trial, were identified in which the effects of soy foods or isoflavones on at least one measure of thyroid function was assessed in presumably healthy subjects. 8 involved women only, 4 involved men, and 2 both men and women. With only one exception, either no effects or only very modest changes were noted in these trials. So, our conclusions from all this are: do not take soy isoflavones if you have a soy allergy. Different studies show different results. If you have had breast cancer or you are hypothyroid, you will have to make up your own mind. For other women, soy isoflavones and maca are two of the safest phytoestrogen supplements, and they have very few side effects. This means that you can adjust the dose safely to suit you. It's also easy to avoid GMO soy by looking at the labels. A lot of the manufacturers of supplements put it very clearly on the labels that their products are not made with GMO soy. Personally, I think soy isoflavones are a very healthy choice. They don't often cause any side effects or problems. They don't have any safety concerns, the same that have been discussed about black cohosh, although I don't think those are particularly troublesome either. So that's the end of this look at whether they're safe or not. If you found this discussion interesting, then please give us a thumbs up, like and subscribe. The link to our group is in the description box below. We now have Facebook, MeWe and Twitter. Thank you very much for listening.